Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to News Dose, and things just keep getting more and more fascinating about this idea that Steam could be a part of the next Xbox console. On one side, there's been a big conversation about Xbox and what exactly does their future for the console business look like, and Microsoft CEO just blew this conversation wide open with a really interesting statement. But then after that, we got more details from Windows Central that kind of plays into my own personal prediction that Xbox will launch a console like we've never seen before. And I think this could actually turn out to be a very exciting console if they can actually pull this off. So make sure to stay tuned for all of that, but let's just go and first get into things, starting off with Fantasian Neo Dimension. This is Hironobu Sakaguchi's new game, aka the father of Final Fantasy. Now, I've been playing Fantasian myself, and I have to say that I'm really enjoying it. It's an old-school JRPG that plays a lot like the classic Final Fantasy series and even Lost Odyssey. I mean, you can definitely tell that it comes from Mistwalker and, again, the father of Final Fantasy. So if you like his older games, then Fantasian might be right up your alley. But I think that might be an issue right now. I feel like Fantasian is flying a little bit under the radar at the moment. I mean, it is a $50 game, and it's also a completely new IP that a lot of people don't necessarily know about. So maybe consumers are just being a little bit more hesitant when it comes to this game. But the good news here is that Square Enix just dropped a free playable demo that allows you to play several hours into its story. Even better is that your progress will completely carry over to the full game if you decide to purchase it. So, I mean, if you like JRPGs or if you like the old school Final Fantasy games, including Lost Odyssey, it might be worth at least trying the Fantasian demo, which you can play on every platform, except for some odd reason, the PlayStation 4. Now, actually speaking of PlayStation, though, of course, they launched the PS5 Pro last month, and it's yielded mixed results early on. I mean, I can tell you firsthand, a lot of games looks absolutely excellent on the PlayStation 5 Pro, but its new PSSR technology is in its infancy stage, and as we've seen from other AI upscaling methods, there are some growing pains that this type of technology has. Now, it'll get better over time, just kind of be patient with it, but for the time being, what we've kind of seen is that there are a few games that debatably looks worse than its PS5 counterpart because of PSSR's implementation. This is why I firmly believe that each game should give players the option to toggle PSSR on or off and let them choose which they prefer. Well, the good news here is that Remedy Entertainment listened to that suggestion after all. Alan Wake 2 was unfortunately one of the games that was impacted by PSSR issues. Thankfully, though, Remedy just pushed out an update that gives PS5 Pro users the option to turn off PSSR. I'll actually need to test this one out myself because theoretically this could push Alan Wake 2 to a consistent 60 FPS, which is something that the base PS5 struggled with. So now it could actually be the best way to play Alan Wake on consoles. So we'll see how that turns out, but it's definitely good to see when developers actively listen to feedback and react. And I mean, Alan Wake 2 is a really good game, and dare I say even possibly one of the best horror games ever made, albeit very bizarre at the same time. Now, looking on to next year, and I mean, honestly, it's kind of crazy to think that 2025 is in mere weeks by this point. Time just flies. But anyways, Elden Ring Night Reign is easily one of the most exciting games of 2025. However, there is a bit of a mystery around this project. When they first revealed it, the trailer put a heavy emphasis on its cooperative component. Now, FromSoft games are, no strangers to co-op in general, but it definitely seems like they want to push it even further in Night Reign. Well, they just gave us some more details, and this actually comes off as a little bit surprising. Check this out. They said the game is designed to be played as a 3-person team, but you can play it as a solo player. It's either 1 player or 3 player. The reason that we went with a 3-player focus was that we wanted to retain that sense of accomplishment you get from battling a boss together or from conquering a map together, and that sense of enjoyment. But we wanted to recreate that in a fresh way, and we felt like focusing on a 3-player cooperative experience would provide a brand new sense of accomplishment with it. So apparently, you won't have the option to play it with just you and a single friend. I guess you'll need to be a little bit more popular and have a group of 3 people. I mean, at the very least, they're not forcing people to play cooperatively. Personally, I'm going to play it by myself, but, I don't know if I necessarily agree with their stance that it needs to be 3-player co-op to have a brand new sense of accomplishment. In all honesty, I feel like that just will somewhat limit the amount of players that will actually want to play cooperatively. But hey, that's just my opinion. Either which way, I'm super excited to jump back in the world of Elden Ring, which remains my favorite game of this generation, and probably actually by far. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to the Xbox news, because this could potentially be huge depending on how all this shakes out. And this first started off with a statement from Microsoft's CEO. Now, we'll talk about Windows Central in a moment too, because they revealed something very interesting that leans into my prediction that Steam will be a part of their next Xbox consoles. So bear with me here for a moment. But I mean, obviously, there's been a big conversation all year long about Xbox and their future in the console business. Do they care about consoles, or are they going to go third party? And this really ramped up when they launched their "This is an Xbox" ad. Now, personally, I feel like people kind of overreacted to that ad, because in all honesty, it's really the exact same strategy that they've had since like 2019. I mean, they've been pushing for an Xbox Everywhere strategy for quite some time, but Satya Nadella was asked about this in a roundabout way, and his response was that, quote-unquote, "We are redefining what it means to be an Xbox fan. It's about being able to enjoy Xbox on all of your devices." Now, again, this is something that they've been preaching for several years now, but it's also a slogan that takes a new shape because of their recent shift to being a more multi-platform publisher. I think that's one of the reasons that a lot of people are freaking out a little bit. After they acquired Activision Blizzard, they've ported over a few of their games to rival consoles, and so far, that's been a success for them. Sea of Thieves put up some big numbers on PlayStation, and Microsoft sees that. So they're bringing over even more games like Indiana Jones, Doom the Dark Ages, and even The Outer Worlds 2. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Their exclusive strategy is very fluid compared to what we're used to seeing from a console manufacturer. And based on one of the latest rumors from Jez Corden, he's hearing that Microsoft is currently analyzing their console business and that they're considering all Xbox-developed games to be timed exclusives at most. Now, it seems like some of that depends on the analytics that they receive over the course of this multi-platform strategy. They want to see what kind of engagement Xbox consoles have with that strategy. But one thing that we do 100% know is that Microsoft is planning more Xbox hardware, including a handheld. They've confirmed this multiple times. And I think that's where things start to get really interesting. The main concern that comes up in a topic like this is, how can Xbox sell hardware with a timed exclusive strategy? And I've said this a few times. I think their next console will be completely different than what most people are expecting. It's going to have a new twist, and this is something that I think is going to be very interesting, and it's going to speak to a lot of people. My prediction is that Xbox will combine PC and console next generation by making an Xbox OS, similar to what Valve is doing with SteamOS and Linux. When you turn on your Steam Deck, what it does is that it boots directly into their SteamOS, and in every sense of the phrase, it feels like a console experience. Well, Xbox might do something very similar with their next Xbox console, but with more of a Windows slant to it. This would basically give them a unique console, and a handheld for that matter, that can play both Xbox and PC games, including, yes, Steam as well. Now, they won't make money on Steam games, but it is a selling point for their console, and that's a great way to get people into their ecosystem. As soon as they turn on this new console, they'll be greeted by this new Xbox OS and their storefront, which includes, of course, Xbox Game Pass. Based on some of the things that we've heard, I also believe that they'll license out this Xbox OS to third-party companies, which means that we will have third-party Xbox consoles as an option. In other words, ROG, as one such example, could come out with an ultra-powerful Xbox console at, let's say, $1,000+ if they wanted to. Now, that's just a hypothetical, but You might ask, what would a PC-esque console like this actually accomplish? Well, that's relatively simple to answer. Historically, console manufacturers don't make a lot of money on units sold. They make their money on software, first-party games sold, and now their very lucrative subscription business. So Xbox's problem right now is that if they leave the console market, well, what would happen is that suddenly they would lose a large portion of their 30-plus million Game Pass subscriptions. There's a lot of dedicated Game Pass subscribers on their current consoles. Well, a PC-esque Xbox console could be a very enticing option to transition their current console fan base to a new console experience to keep them invested and to keep them subscribed to Game Pass. That, I believe, is their main goal. And a console that can play both Xbox games and Steam games is, yes, a very unique and enticing option. I mean, PC gaming continues to grow, but there are still a lot of people that prefer the ease of use of consoles. And a console like this could kind of be the best of both worlds. In fact, the reason I bring all this up today is because Jez Corden gave us even more information in his new article, and, check this out. He said Microsoft is reacting to this trend early by talking about putting Steam and Epic Games Store onto future Xbox consoles. It's reacting to this by investing a huge amount into improving Windows gaming performance, as well as its usability on devices like the Asus ROG Ally and Lenovo Legion Go. Microsoft is also known to be building its own Xbox handheld. Sources tell us that Microsoft is also working on a set of in-game APIs and user interface features called Project Rainway, which is the same form of cross-platform Xbox Guide menu. Microsoft has been inspired by the in-game Battle.net social features seen in Hearthstone, Diablo 4, and World of Warcraft, which lets you share and communicate cross-platform. This means that for games running on other platforms from Xbox, they will still have an Xbox flavor and in-game Xbox systems, maybe even cloud saves. So, there it is. The more we hear, the more convinced I become that their next console will be a combination of Xbox and Windows rolled into one. It would solve just so many of their problems, and it would legitimately be a unique and, more importantly, an interesting option for consumers. A console that could play both Xbox and PC games, which also includes actually some PlayStation games and even Game Pass. You'd be buying a console experience that can do almost everything. Now, Valve is doing something similar with SteamOS, but because it uses Linux, it can't play things like PC Game Pass as one such example. So this could actually be a potential shakeup for the game industry, but, let me know what you all think about all of this. Do you like the idea of an Xbox PC-esque console? Would you buy into something like that or not? And also, do you think they'll actually go into this direction, or do you think that I'm just flat out wrong here? Let me hear your thoughts in the comments below. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode, but until next time, make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications, and peace out.